Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the latest Jacqueline webinar about Google, and it's called I Can't Find Anything, Getting Organized in Google Classroom and Drive and Gmail and just Google in general. So Jacqueline is here. She is our speaker. I'm sort of the moderator. Jacqueline, you've probably been to some of our webinars already that have Jacqueline as the speaker. She seems to know everything about Google, so ask as many questions as you want. Everybody right now is on mute. If we allowed everybody off of mute, we would just have a cacophony of noise and we wouldn't hear anything. So please enter your questions into the question box on your control panel. India's not here yet. She's having a little technical difficulty, but India and I'm Ann Mordecai, will be monitoring the questions. If we get the same question over and over again, we're going to interrupt Jacqueline and ask, but otherwise she will stop every now and then, look at the questions and answer them. And any questions that don't get answered, we will send to you. We'll send them to Jacqueline, she'll answer them and we'll send them back. So hi, Jacqueline.
Hi.
There she is. Yes, she's there. I want to thank the DOE. The DOE is sponsoring these webinars, a lot of webinars for us, Google and Principal Talks and lots of other things. And we want to thank everybody, teachers, students, parents, for fighting through this interesting time we're having. And I've realized I'm finally getting tired of waiting for something to happen. That's what's bugging me about it now. And thank you for your patience. Everybody's patient and trying hard and learning new things. Please check out New Hampshire Learns Remotely. You can find lots of useful information. There's stuff about helping families, supporting wellness, your own wellness, and tools for remote instruction. Caregivers, students, just the calendars for different webinars. So please check that out. And Jacqueline, I'm going to turn this over to you in just a minute, and just make sure you're patient with yourself. It's still only been like 6 weeks, which is not long. That's a really quick learning path you guys all have taken to get to even talk to your students online. So be patient with yourselves and ask questions. Please ask away. Jacqueline, anything else I missed that I should have said at the beginning?
No, we're ready.
Okay, take it away.
Yeah. Past presenter. All right, I'm just waiting for presenter to come my way, and then I will share my screen with you. While I'm waiting for that, it's great to see so many of you. It's really beautiful out, so I know a lot of people might watch this recorded later, so I hope it is just as useful for you then as those of you on now. And so again, my name is Jacqueline Carabinas, and I'm excited to be able to help you again. I was laying in bed last night thinking through all of the things that I wanted to tell you all to help you, because I know that it can be really hard to learn new tools. And I also know that learning something new in a stressful time is doubly, if not triply, as hard. Just one quick reminder, if anyone has called in on their phone, if you could mute your phone, that will help our audio. So if you've called in on your phone, you're going to want to mute your phone. All right, wonderful. So I've been reading all the feedback, all the questions. A lot of you have emailed me, and all the questions that don't get answered do get sent to me after the webinar, and I go through and answer as many as pretty much all of them, or sometimes I'll send people to specific support links that will help them better. But I knew that this day was coming, that this topic was going to be important, because this is one of the #1 things that I hear from people when I'm working with teachers and working with schools, is just this feeling that there's never any time to figure out how to use the organization and figure out where things are. And specifically Drive and Gmail, but now, of course, with so many people using Classroom, the same also in Classroom. So I designed all of the things I'm going to show you today based on that experience and knowledge, but also with the idea that I know that it's when you don't feel like you can be organized and you don't feel like you're efficient and you don't feel as though you can find everything, you get very frustrated with a tool, you don't want to use a tool, and it also makes it very hard to do the one thing that you are in this profession for, which is to serve students. And so even though this isn't a super exciting topic, like, making forms or designing really awesome slide decks, I find it to be a really important topic to understand how to organize Gmail and Classroom and Drive so that you can exhale and focus on your students. So that is the primary thing that we're going to do today. So I'm actually going to take my camera off so that you can see my full screen. We have 90 minutes today, and that is really exciting. So a lot of the feedback was that things go really fast. It's too much to pack into an hour, that people want to have a chance to try things. And people would really like a chance to, maybe click around on their own. And so while a lot of those things are really difficult for me to help you with remotely via webinar style, I really feel like 90 minutes is going to give us the chance to slow down, give you a chance to try things out and answer more questions in this setting. So I'm really grateful. Thank you, Demonstrated Success and the DOE for extending the time to allow us to do this for 90 minutes. Just a quick few thoughts. When you're working through the things that you're trying to do, please remember that sometimes we just go to Google and we start typing things in. How do I do this or how do I do that? But if you use support.google.com/edu, bookmark this, make it your friend. It is the most organized support site I've ever seen anywhere, and it keeps getting better and better by the day. Ever since schools went remote, they've been adding cheat sheets and step-by-step. I mean, they already had this, but it's more and more clear by the day. I cannot stress enough what a great tool it is. I use it myself. With as much as I know, I still use it because things change daily. I just saw 3 new features that popped up today in various apps, and I was excited. But I know for others, it can be really overwhelming. So don't forget that you have support.google.com/edu. It's your best friend. If you're a video person on YouTube, the Google EDU in 90 is going to be your best friend. They are very short videos that are very specific, such as how do I give feedback in a form, or how do I do this in Classroom. They're great videos made by Google for Education. And I know that you're still building your tech fluency, and you got thrown into crisis learning mode with all sorts of new tools for some of you. So just keep in mind that you're learning so much day to day, and just advocate for yourself and students as you build your tech fluency. You learn what your practices should look like online, and you will get there. So thank you for being here today, and I'm going to dive in now. So if you haven't seen yet the agenda sheet, if you've been on my webinars before, you've noticed that I don't typically do slides. I try to get everything down to a one sheet for you so that it's a quick, easy find, one sheet of what we reviewed and the links and that kind of thing. You should probably find a link to that in the question box. And so let me type it again one more time here. Yeah, click on, let's see. All right, there you go, bit.ly. Yeah, there we go. All right, it's showing up now. So you can see it here. It's this one, this bit.ly/getorganizednh will bring you right here. And I can see a lot of you are showing up now by these little people up here in the top right, all of our anonymous animals. I see the number growing, so I know that many of you are finding it. So really thinking through what we're going to do today. With 90 minutes, I have more of a chance to move a little more slowly and give you a chance. If you're someone that wants to try things out as I'm talking, by all means, open up a tab, or maybe you have another device open that you can give things a try on while I'm showing you things. That's typically the way I like to do PD is, you know, I show you something, you try it, I can come in and check with you, and that's really hard to do through a webinar, but we'll do the best we can with 400, 500, 600 people, however many are here. So we're going to take a look first at Google Drive. We're just going to make sense of the folders, make sense of how things are organized, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks. I saw a new feature today in there that I hadn't even tried yet, so we're going to try that out today. I linked to the Google Drive cheat sheet for you right from Google Support, which is really awesome. We're going to go into Google Classroom after that, and then Gmail. So let's go ahead and jump over to Google Drive. So I'm going to, you're going to get a little window into my life right now, because I'm going to just give you some tips and tricks in the various drives and emails that I have here. So let's just take a moment and look at the layout of Google Drive. So what drives most people crazy is that they feel as though things aren't organized in the way that you're used to. So like when you used to keep things on your desktop and things are very linear and folders within folders and subfolders and all of that. And so you do have all of those same options here. The difference is that you have a lot of different ways to organize and access. So in some ways it's annoying because you look around the screen and there's things up here and there's folders and documents down here and there's, all sorts of stuff on the left. There's a lot going on. And the reason for all of that is so that there are a variety of organizational styles that can be used here. So whereas on your desktop, there's really just one way to do things. You can have a mess and have documents everywhere. You can keep things in folders. You really have a lot of different options here. So let's just take a look at the way things are organized. So across the top, this quick access, these are going to be anything that you did the last time you had Drive open or the last time you used any app that is integrated with your Drive. So you can see here, I have a slide deck that I was just using. I have a doc. This is a Meet recording that I had done just yesterday, a form that I was using yesterday. And so these are this quick access. They pull those from things that you've used recently. So this actually changes too by location. If I were to open this, at home versus at school, your quick access changes, which is kind of neat. So I'm going to move over to the left next. So taking a look on the left, in Drive, we have our new button. New is where you can create a new folder. And that would be creating a new folder here in your Drive. Naming your folder, test folder, create. All right, there's my lovely test folder. So we can do that here. I can right click on my folder and I get a whole new menu. Now, here's a little tip for you. When I right click on something, my menu will change up here. And you have a lot of the same options that you do. If I right click all of these options here, I also have up top here. So see this little more? 3 dots in Google always means more. You've heard me say that before. It always means more. It's a different more every time. But you can see that this menu, this 3 dots, is very similar to when I right clicked on a folder, and I have very similar options here that I have across the top there. So just kind of something to keep in mind. So that's new. File upload and folder upload, this is uploading from your desktop or, uploading something that you have saved on your computer. So you have an Excel spreadsheet, or you have a PDF, or you have a Word document, you have some images, audio files, whatever it is that you have saved maybe on your computer on an external hard drive. That's what you're going to do from here. So if you have something, when you click that, it'll bring up your desktop. It'll look different, obviously. I'm on a Mac right now. It'll look different depending on your device. but that's what you're looking at here. And then once you continue down in that new is where you see all of your integrated apps. So one of the questions I saw when people submitted questions for the webinar was just kind of trying to understand where is Drive in relationship to all of the other apps. So if you are someone that is really comfortable with Microsoft Office, this description might help you. So you might think of Google Drive like your desktop before, and think of all the individual apps as if you were opening Word, opening Excel, opening PowerPoint, so on and so forth, the various tools in Microsoft Office. And that the difference here is that Drive holds everything. So whether you made a slideshow, you made a doc, you uploaded a PDF, whatever it is that you put in here from any app, they're all here no matter what. So one of the things that it can be confusing is that when you're working in Microsoft Office, you typically think, okay, I'm going to type a document, so I'm going to open Word. And so that gets very confusing when now you're in Drive and you're clicking on new and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm in my Drive. Can I just make a doc or what am I doing here? So you can see docs separately. So I'm just back in this agenda doc, and you see on the top left where it has this, and I hover and it says Docs Home. So what that means now is this is where you separate out docs. So this is now anything that I've created in my Drive, anything that's been shared with me, anything that is just a doc is now going to show up here. This is also where you find the templates. I pretty much never open up apps in their own selves. I mostly just work from Drive, but if you're someone that feels like you're overwhelmed by Drive, using that little trick to just go into docs might be helpful. And so everything is connected. So if you have certain docs, I'm back in my Drive now. If you have certain docs in a folder in your Drive, they're going to be in the same folder over here in docs. And so just a little thing to help you figure out, you can still sort, is it not owned by me, things owned by anyone, or just owned by me? You can change the view. So I just wanted to show that because I know, going back to Drive now, because I know that that could be really confusing. The same thing, I'm just going to jump into a slide really quick. So here I am, I'm in slides, and let me get this so that I can show you. This works for forms, it works for sheets, drawings. All of the apps have that same feature. You go to the top left, you hover, and it separates out slides from the rest of your Drive, and it is just viewed in here. Okay, all right, heading back into my Drive. Oh, someone did request me that I use a larger cursor. That just popped into my mind. I'll look into that for you. I know that it can be hard to see where my cursor goes sometimes, so I'll try to tell you where I'm going and where I'm clicking. Okay, shared drives. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because not every school uses them, but they used to be called, they've changed names a couple of times. I can't even remember what they used to be called when they first came out. Shared drives are essentially drives that are owned by your domain. So you may have them, but, Team Drive, that's what it used to be called, Team Drive, and then they changed it to Shared Drive. Team Drive was supposed to solve a lot of ownership problems in schools in large districts. It may have solved some. I think it created a lot too. You probably, if you've experienced that in your school, you know what I'm talking about. But shared drives get a little bit complicated because they are owned by the domain, and whoever the G Suite person can decide, the G Suite admin rather, can decide if you have this on or not. I find it to be most helpful if it's not too many cooks in the kitchen with the Team drives. But if that's something that a lot of you are struggling with, we may come back to that. So I will look in the chat box to see. Okay, shared with me. So if you are type A, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath because I'm going to tell you something you might not like to hear. A lot of people want to clean out their drive and reorganize. So here's what I'm going to tell you. My drive is everything that you own or was shared specifically with your email address that you have added to your drive, or anything you found that was added to your drive. So what that means is you have total control over what is in your drive. You have complete control here. When you add something to your drive, you can put it in a folder. You can put it in multiple folders. You can change the sharing settings. So I'm just showing up here, the little person. I can share. I can do all of those things from here. Shared with me, so I'm going back over to the left. Shared with me is just that. So things that are shared by a certain person, either via a link or shared directly with your email address. So here's the important piece that is going to hopefully clear this up for some of you. These things are in shared with me, but they do not exist in my drive until I put them there. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Anything in shared with me does not live in my drive, and I can't organize it until I put it there unless I physically do it. So let's take a look at what that is. So here is, let's see. Let's use this one. So I'm going to click here, all right? And here's this HyperDoc lesson plan template. So this is highlighted. Well, notice this menu bar up here. Do you see how I have this icon, add to drive? It says shortcut. I mean, I guess technically it's a shortcut, but I feel like that's confusing. So this little drive symbol comes up here because I do not have this in my drive. It was shared with me, or I went and I clicked on a link that someone made open for me to access, and that's why it's showing up here. So when I click on this, if I click on add to my drive, now I can walk through and I can say, okay, I want it through my drive, and I go through the hierarchy. Where do I want it? Let's put it in test folder. I'm going to click again. This folder is empty. I'm going to add, says shortcut. It's really adding it to your drive. So what that means now is it's still here, and this is what's going to drive a lot of you nuts. It's still here and shared with me. I added it to my drive. Yeah, you could drag this into the trash, but you're going to spend a lot of time cleaning out your shared with me. Your shared with me is meant to be, I think of it like this train station. Like things are constantly coming through, getting on, getting off. Your shared with me is always going to be a disorganized mess because it's really just as things come through. And so my best advice to those of you that are going totally bonkers from this is to just think of your drive. This is your place. It's like your desktop. This is where you organize your folders. And it's where you organize your subfolders. So I just opened my classroom folder and I can see a folder for all of my classes. So that is the way that you want to look at it. But even more importantly, if this middle part is driving you crazy, you just feel like this is so disorganized, I just scroll through documents. This is designed, this middle part, for people like me. I don't organize my drive a lot. I don't organize everything. I am a scroller and a searcher. It's just my style for drive. But if you're someone that likes the hierarchy, if you go here on the left, you want to use this tool. So if I open up this little triangle here, see how my drive expands? And I might go, oh, okay, I want to go into my Meet recordings, and it's going to expand and open here. Or I'm going to go to my sample forms. It expands and opens here. So if you're someone that is just longing for the days of your organized hierarchy in your desktop, just focus on this over here on the left. Anytime someone specifically shares something with you and you're like, wait, grade 5 shared this with me, I want to add that to my folder on geometry, then that's what you do. It was shared with you, you click on it, we get our little add shortcut to Drive up here in the top right, and I can do it. You'll also notice, I'm going to open this doc. It's going to take a little bit here. You'll also notice that anytime you're in a doc, a form, a sheet, anything that was shared with you and is not organized in your Drive, you can do that from up here as well. So up here, oh wait, this isn't going to be a good example. Hold on. Let's find a better one here. Let's do this one. All right, so this was a slideshow from a couple of weeks ago. All right, so here I am. And do you see this icon, this add to my Drive here in the top? Notice that I don't have that. I didn't have that in that other doc because I owned it, or I already added it to my Drive. So if someone shared something with you and you're like, ooh, this is the schedule for the rest of the year, I need that. You'll just click on the Drive here and, oh, that's right, I can't add this one to my Drive because of the domain issues. But if it was in my same domain, I would click organize, I could add it to my Drive, and then it's organized in the folder I want it to be in. So yes, it's still in shared with me, but it's now organized in your Drive. So you don't really have to go looking for things here. So yes, that might not be the answer that a lot of you wanted, but shared with me is meant to be kind of this like trains going in and out, people coming on and off, that kind of thing. Recent, exactly what it sounds like. Anything you've used by time recently. So here we are. And I use that a lot because I don't organize things. I just click on recent and I go and I find what it was I was working on. This priority feature, this is newish, not super new, but you click on priority. There's a couple new tools here. I'm not going to show a ton of these right now, but I find priority to be very much like when I'm back in my Drive and I have the quick access on the top. Priority seems to be, okay, the same things that I had for quick access or the same things that I found under recent. It seems to be putting all of these in one place. But then this tool, I haven't used this at all yet. Maybe some of you have and you've noticed it. This is now a Drive workspace. So if I'm trying to organize all my documents for a unit and, it's Spanish unit 8, I might create a workspace, and it's not a folder per se. It's really just a place to start to organize documents or files or whatever it is you have before you commit to where they're going to live in your Drive. So that's just a thing to think about that. Now, as far as cleaning things up, sure, you can put anything in the trash you want. Nothing's ever really gone, so you don't have to worry that if you were in your Drive and you accidentally dragged something into the trash that you can't go get it. Nothing's ever really gone. You can empty your trash. I just kind of leave it because you never know, right? So just to kind of wrap all of that up, that was 20 minutes of understanding this left panel, but I just find that the more people I talk to, the fewer people understand that if you really like the linear hierarchy, you can use the left. And a lot of people don't understand that shared with me versus Drive, that you have to add it to your Drive if you want to organize it and put it in a neat little box the way you like. Okay. I'm going to show you a couple of other features here in Drive that might help you with organization, and then I'm going to look at some questions. All right, so in my Drive, over here on the top right, I can look at things in a grid, or I can look at things in a list. It just depends on your preference. And if you know you're looking for an image, doing grid view is really helpful because you can quickly see what you're looking for. Sometimes I'll do grid view if I know I'm looking for an image or a certain picture. Otherwise, I'm a fan of the list because when I'm in my list view here, then I can see, quickly see the owner, last opened by me, file size. And this is something else you can organize too. You can filter, was it last opened by me? Was it last modified by anyone? It's a good way to kind of filter things down if you're looking for things. Another feature I'm a fan of is this little info guy in the top right, this eye. So watch, I'm going to click on just anything here. So I clicked on this file and notice it's highlighted blue. And when I did that, you see I got more icons. That's the other thing that drives people nuts sometimes is that you're looking for an icon in Drive and you can't find it. Typically it's because you haven't selected what it is that you want to work with. So if I click the eye in the top right, I get all the details and activity on this individual document. I get the details, is it shared? So this tells me, I put this in one of my Google classrooms. It tells me right here it's in a class. You can see the size. It tells you where it is. Tells you all the settings. Activity is really nice. If you are collaborating with someone on something, you can see who edited last, when was it opened, and you can do this with any of the files in your Drive, a really helpful tool. And again, how I got there was I selected the file or the folder I was looking for. I clicked in the eye, viewed for info, view details on the top right, and then I can see details and activity of that whole thing. So I don't use this a ton, but I do use it when I'm trying to see like history on a document that a student has been working on, or I'm looking at, when the last person edited something, if I'm working with another staff member on something. And then, of course, on the right, you've probably noticed in Gmail too, that you have these shortcuts to your calendar, to Google Keep, which we haven't talked about at all. Google Keep is one of my favorite tools. Maybe I'll add Google Keep into my webinar on Google Docs that's coming up next week. And then Google Tasks. So just little shortcuts. So that was sort of going through Drive in a nutshell. I still want to show you tips and tricks for searching in Drive. That was a big question from people. So I'm just going to click over to the questions for a moment and scroll through and see what we have. Let's see. Yeah, someone else is asking about enlarging my cursor. I am going to take a moment to try to do that for you. I'm trying to go as slow as I can with my cursor, but I know for some of you that's challenging. Let's see, my view. Okay, so Kathy's asking, my view looks really different. How do I change my view so I get more of a list of stuff in the folder? So Kathy, I don't know if you got the answer to that or not, but the best way to do that is on the left to expand my Drive, expand classroom, expand the class. I'm just gonna kind of keep expanding here. It's gonna take a minute to load because there's a lot of them in there. Is to kind of expand from here. That's how things are gonna show up. Let's see. Every year I get hundreds of documents shared with me. Can I delete them all in one easy swoop? I mean, if you want to, Jennifer, you certainly can. You can go into shared with me. And I mean, you could just, I don't know, what would I do? So if you do, let's see, on my computer, it's Shift and the arrow. And I just keep, hitting Shift arrow and it's highlighting all of them. I really could just highlight all of them and then drag them over to trash. So I'll show you what that looks like. So let's say I have everything in shared with me blue. I can click and drag and see how it condensed it down. It says 30. It shows I'm taking 30 things and dragging it into the trash right now. So that is one way to do that, Jennifer. Amanda, is space limited on Drive? I mean, in theory, yes, but it's really hard to run out of space in Drive in G Suite. I would say 10 years later, in my personal Drive, I'm finally running out of space. But in G Suite, it's just, I don't even remember how many megabytes. You have so much space for storage. Judith is saying, shared with me is like a general history. Yeah, really, it is kind of like a general history of things that you have clicked on. Maybe you found docs on the web that people were giving examples, or anything that anyone has ever, shared with you in an email, that kind of thing. Kathy, can I go back to basics? Absolutely. I will go into that. Creating, changing the name of a folder. Totally. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so Carol's saying, instead of hovering your cursor over the symbol on the left to go separate it out to slides or sheets, why not go to the 9 dots or waffle on the upper right-hand corner? That is a great question. And the answer is you can do either. And again, Google has so many different options to get to different places that it can be really confusing. But once you know where your options are, it allows you to personalize it. So like the waffle she's referring to is this little friend up here in the top right. Certainly, if I click on that, I can just go right to slides or sheets or docs. But if I'm already in a slide, it's just as fast. It's one less click, really, to just click here at slides. So you can do either way. Are shared with me documents gone when I delete them? I mean, they're in your trash. If you empty your trash, they're gone. But I don't know. I have a hard time thinking anything's actually really ever gone in Google. So, I think if you empty your trash, yes. How does the starred feature work? Yeah, thank you for asking. I feel like I did skip over that. It's one of my favorites. I use starred more than I use any of the other features like priority or recent or anything. So starred basically just creates a filter. So here I am, I'm in a document, and up here I have a little star. If I'm in my document and I think, you know what, I want to be able to really find this easy later, I'm going to click the star. And that's it. Once I click the star, okay, I'm going back into my Drive now. I'm back in my Drive and I'm on the left. So now these are filters, right? These are filtering, shared with me, filtering what was recent, filtering to the trash. Well, same thing. It's filtered to your star. I start it. If there's something, so in my personal Drive, I have a lot of spreadsheets, for example. I have a lot of spreadsheets that I use weekly. And so there are things that I want to star because I'm always going back to them. And I don't want to have to click around in the folder and see what's where, and just takes too long to look. If it's something you access daily, weekly, monthly, if it's something you access regularly, I highly recommend doing a star. So you can do the star, like I showed you right in the document. You can do it in slides as well. Clicking over to a slide, just open one so I can show you here. Oh boy, that's old. Yeah, same thing up here. See, I'm in a slides. I could check star and it automatically filters it. You can also do it by, all right, I'm back in my Drive. You can also do it by doing a folder. I can right click on my folder. And when I right click, I have the option to add to starred. I also can click it and use my more menu up here in the top right, and I can add a star. So starred is a great way to just quickly be able to filter to the things that are most important to you. Yes, Teresa, you can trash a folder. Just drag it. So click and drag right over into the trash, and it'll be gone. Let me show you, somebody was asking about back to basics. So when you create a folder, you'll do that up in new. I think I showed that at the beginning, but let me show you just once you have your folder. I have two test folders. So here I am in my folder. See how it's selected because it's all blue? Now I can right click on it to get some options, or remember, right click gives you the same options pretty much as this more 3 dots here in the top right. So I'm down here, test folder. I'm going to right click. So here's where I can have a quick access to lots of things. I can share that folder with someone. I can just grab the link to it if I want to copy the link to that and paste it into an email for someone. I can move it to become a subfolder in another drive. So if I click move, it opens up all my folders, and I can say, you know what, I really like that to be a subfolder in Meet Recordings, please. And I just click on that. What else do we have here? Change the color of the folder. My personal Google account is all color coded. I love the different colored folders. It really helps me see quickly what I'm dealing with. I'm super visual. Search within that folder, view the details on that folder. That was like the same tool up here, this I for info in the top right. Do I want it? Whoops, where'd I go? All right, do I want to download that folder? You know, remove it completely, trash it. That's another way you can trash it. So there's renaming. Someone had asked about renaming. So those of you that were looking for those basics, just go to new, create folder, and then I would highlight the folder and right click, or use that 3-dot more menu to experiment with your options. Cheryl's asking if the list view is alphabetical. It is. So see over here on the left where it says name in my drive right here. All right, if I click this arrow, it's going to sort it by name. Let me scroll up so you can see. And then that makes it alphabetical. See how it went alphabetical now? So I can sort by name. I can sort by last modified by me. That's how I usually do it. Okay. All right, Mary Ellen's asking, if I move a shared with me file to my drive, can others still edit? Will the newest edited version show in the My Drive copy? Okay. Yes. The best way I can explain documents in Google Land is that think of them as a web page. So yes, they're a document. Yes, it's a slideshow, it's a drawing, it's a form, it's a sheet. It is all of those things. It's a file, but think of it more as a web page because all of those come with their own link. And so wherever that link goes, it's the same for everyone. The only time that changes is if you make a copy of it. And make a copy is not something you need to do very often. There are very specific scenarios that you make a copy of things. But when you're collaborating on one thing, no matter where it is in your drive or anyone else's drive, that link is really, you know, it kind of follows it around. That's the best way I can explain that. So I hope that helps, Mary Ellen. Catherine's asking if I delete a shared with me document, can it be reshared with me? Absolutely. Yep. Do the files, okay, let's see. Susan's asking, do files you move from my drive, from shared drive, automatically update? Yes. So just like I was saying before, all of these things, that's the biggest sort of learning curve, I feel like, when people are transitioning from things like Microsoft Office to Google Tools, is just following the idea that a document is it's a link, and it can be a live link, it can be a link accessed by others, that anyone who has access to that link, if they have editing access, you'll see those changes automatically. If they only have view access, like with this one, so that I can't find anything, this agenda doc that you all have, you can't edit that. If I gave you editing privileges, then anything you typed would show up here automatically, but I just gave you all the link. So that's why you're all anonymous animals here in the top right. Kathy's asking, how do you move something into a different folder? There's a few ways you can do that. One way is to click on it and drag and drop it. Whoops, there we go. Let's click on this guy. Click and you can drag. See how I have it now? I clicked on it and I'm dragging. You can drag and drop. Okay, you can also right click and you can move it. You can have things in multiple folders too. And this is another thing that kind of twists up people's brains sometimes, is that I can have one document in multiple folders that's the same document. That's not the same in the team drives or the shared drives. That's a totally different ballgame. But in here, if I say I want to move argument, let's say I want to move it to meet recordings. Let's just pretend I'm going to move it. Now I can go back. I'm going to go into that same document here. So that was that document argument, right? I just moved it to meet recordings, but I'm going to right click here and I'm going to say I want to move it again. It's in meet recordings, but I want it to be in my test folder. Okay, well, now I moved it there. So you can move things around and it will, you can put them in the different folders. What about editing a shared document? Should you make a copy? So it depends on your goals. I mean, if you're sharing a document so that everyone has access to the same information, you don't want to make a copy of it, because if you do, then it's completely detached from any collaboration from the other people. The difference would be is if someone says, here, I made this course outline, let me send you the link and you can make a copy of it and revise it to fit your class. So if someone made something and they're like, here, take this and make it your own, then yes, you make a copy. But if it's something where you want, everyone to be on the same page with updated information, then, you just don't want to make a copy of it. And copies can make your drive really messy. It's why you never want to copy a class in Google Classroom. Some of you may have discovered that. Okay, I am just looking at the time. You guys are asking such great questions, and I'm so grateful for 90 minutes that I can answer all of these questions. To transition into talking about organization in Google Classroom, I'm actually going to start from in my drive, but I do want to point you to, just practice in Google Drive. Just remember that things like right-clicking, things like clicking to select and highlight will give you new tools, and hover over your icons to find what you want to do with things. With practice and patience with yourself, you will get there. The Google Drive cheat sheet is awesome. So I have that linked here for you that, you can access if you need. All right, Google Classroom. Let's see. I'm just going to move my windows around here. All right. So Google Classroom, again, support.google.edu has a lot of step-by-steps for Google Classroom. I'm actually just going to open that for you all here, just show you what it looks like. It's so well organized. It's so well organized. So if you're looking specifically with something you want to do, don't go to Google and just type it in Google. Go to the support site and say, I really need to work more on grading and giving feedback. I click, it expands, and I say, ooh, that's what I'm trying to do. Grade with a rubric. Click on that. It walks you through things step by step. It's the most beautiful support site. I can't talk about it enough. It's why I don't make super fancy slides with screenshots, because they are always updating their cheat sheets and their visuals so that everyone has the most up-to-date information. Okay, Google Classroom. Let's get organized, right? So I'm going to go back into my drive. here. All right, so you can see here, I'm going to zoom in for you. All right, so here's my folder, Classroom, okay? I did not create this folder. I didn't go to New, Create Folder, Classroom. When you are working with an app that integrates with Google Drive, it creates its own folder for you. So Classroom, being an app that integrates with Google Drive, when you create a classroom, it creates the folder to go with it. If any of you are using Screencastify to make screencasts or create video and audio, same thing. It's a tool that integrates with Google Drive, which means it creates a folder for you automatically. So your classroom folder is right here. Here it is. So I open it, and I have not created any of these. So these are all just schools. You can see this is the account that I use for providing PD. So again, I didn't create these folders either. When I created a class called Freedom, when I created a class called Google Classroom Webinar, Drive created it for me. So I'm going to go in here. So let's see, I'm going to go into Grade 5 Superclass. I'm opening this folder. I did not create this folder. I have an assignment that I made in Classroom called Geometry in Your World. And the minute I created that assignment and said that there were accompanying documents, it created a folder for me. So I'm going to open this one so you can see what's happening here. And notice over here on the left, you see those of you that love the outline hierarchy. Here's your beautiful organized hierarchy. So here I am, Geometry in Your World that I created in Classroom. I'm going to open this folder. Okay, here was the assignment that was turned in. So that particular assignment, I didn't link any documents. I didn't make a copy of anything for any students. I gave them directions and just said, add your picture here. So all the student work will show up there. Now, one of the biggest questions I got on for the question submissions before this webinar, oops, sorry, wrong screen, everyone, was, why do I have all this student work in my drive? I don't want it in my drive. I want to clear it out. So the answer is you can't. I mean, you could, but you need that student work. So that student work is here in that folder from that assignment. If you have a drive that's a mess and a shared with me, that's a mess because you're not using Classroom and you just have students sharing documents with you randomly, yeah, that is going to drive you crazy. And I'm just going to pull the plug on that for you right now. If you're using Google Tools and you're going back and forth with students with documents and various things, you are making your life so much harder not using Classroom. And I know that, you know, for some teachers I started to work with at the beginning of all of this, they said, I can't learn one more tool. I just can't. And I said, I know, I hear you. But it organizes it for you so much better than, you know, going to your Share With Me and trying to find student work, or, you know, students just filling up, you know, blowing up your email with, I created my story here, I made my slideshow here, I'm going to share it with you. Don't do that to yourself, because Classroom will organize it right for you. All right, so we started talking about Classroom right here from Drive. So again, there's a folder. Classroom created it. Classroom creates a folder for each assigned classroom, then assignment, and everything's in there. So let's head over to Classroom so that we can look at some of those things. Okay, here we go. So I'm in Classroom. I'm going to go into my, this has been my test class lately. So here I'm in my class. I'm going to click on Classwork. All right, and I know I saw just really quick, the request for having a larger cursor. I just wrote down really big on my notes that I'm going to make sure I do that for you for the next webinar. I'm trying to move slowly, as slow as I can. but I just put that at the top of my list. That's a priority for me to make sure that I have a giant cursor. So be on the lookout for that next week, everyone. Okay, here I am. I'm in my class. I'm in classwork. All right. Here's my, let's say, unit 1. I've created this topic. If you're not using topics in classwork, that is your first goal. When you leave this webinar today, if you're using Classroom and you feel like your classwork page is a disaster zone, it's time for you to embrace topics. So I'll jump over to that in a minute. So remember I said that Drive creates the folder for the assignment. So I created this assignment right here. Let's see, narrative draft. So I'm just gonna open this. All right, so let's think about this for a moment. So I have 51 assigned. So that means that when let's say I get all 50 of these pieces, that I'm going to view them from within Classroom. But if I need later to go dig one out, I can go back into my Drive, go into Classroom, right? Then to the assignment, narrative draft, and I will find it here. And someone asked in the question box if there's a way to get student names on their work automatically, and the answer is yes, if you use Classroom. If you do an assignment in Classroom and you link, a blank template to it or a document or something like that, and you choose make a copy for each student, it will automatically put student names on it for you. All right, I'm clicking back over to Classroom. Someone mentioned in one of the questions too that they feel overwhelmed because they have, 100 students turning something in every day. So two thoughts on that. One is don't do that to yourself. That's not sustainable for yourself or for students. And if that's you and you're trying to figure out a better way to manage that, please email me. I wanna save you from that. And help to figure out a different way to provide that experience for students, because on the student side, that, they have their responsibilities there. But for your side, you're going to be seeing, 100 on an assignment every day. That's a lot to deal with right now. So I just thought of that when I saw this here. All right. So thinking in terms of organizing classwork, we know that when we have an assignment, like we just saw, that it's in Drive, in its own folder. I didn't create it. Google did it for me. I can quickly get to that folder here. So let's say you're in Classroom and you just want to jump into Drive. All you have to do is click right here in the top right, Class Drive folder. When I click on that, it's like a shortcut. It takes me right there to where I was before, but it takes me right there. Something that you don't see in this classroom, because I haven't done it a lot, as in with my other accounts, is numbering assignments. So when you create your assignments in Classroom, if you number them, so let's say here I put, reading reflection is first, math quiz is second, exit ticket is third. When you type the name of that and you put a number 1 right next to it in the title, I'm going to do that here. So, all right, so I just edited that assignment by going over to the far right, click the 3 little dots. Someone else said they couldn't find a delete for anything too, but that's where it is. 3 dots always means more in Google. If you can't find something, look for the 3 dots. So when I create assignments, if I number these, it's going to number them in my Drive. And the reason why that is so brilliant and beautiful is that I can see, then they are ordered in the way that I created them versus by alphabetical, right? So if you have a folder that begins with R, M, and E, it's going to put them in alphabetical order in Drive. But if you put a number in front of the assignments, then when you're in your Drive folder, you can find them faster. So when that's helpful for you is when you get to the end of the year and you archive your class, and you want to go back to old assignments and documents that you created for assignments and you want to find ones to reuse for next year, then it's just a lot easier to find them than in your drive versus going into Classroom and trying to figure out where they are. You'll be able to find them in your drive. So that's just a little tip and trick for numbering your assignments. Okay, topics. Like I said, if you're not using topics yet, you need to do this. Now, a lot of you were thrown into, remote learning, crisis learning overnight. So you didn't know different ways to organize it. Some of you may have been organizing it. Some of you maybe didn't use topics at all because you weren't sure what it did or you didn't know, which is fine. Some of you might have done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for your topics. That's a possibility. And now you're realizing, that's getting a little crazy because if someone doesn't finish something, then how do I not confuse the Mondays or, lots of different scenarios. The way you organize your topics is going to be very personal to the way you have an organizational, it's going to be very personal to your organizational preferences and to the way that you want to organize things for students, whether you're organizing it by unit or by day or by week. Week would be a great way to do it, and then just number everything. But the one thing that you want to keep in mind is that you want to keep assignments. And I know a lot of you want to delete assignments to clean up classwork, but I mean, if it's done and over and done with and students are done with it and no one else needs to access it, sure, go ahead and delete it. Over here, 3 dots, delete. And it says, okay, I'm going to delete grades and comments too. All right, well, that may stop you from doing it right now. If you're thinking, okay, well, I don't want to delete it, I'll wait until the end of the year, then what you want to do is create what I call the archive. So this isn't a real feature, the archive. I just made it up. So basically what I came up with to clean up the classwork tab is create, right here, create a topic, call it archive. I'm going to choose add, and it put it up top. Well, I don't want it up top. Okay, this is what we're doing right now. I want it up top. I want forms to be up top. So I drag that up top. You can even with the 3 dots, you can move things up, move them down. But essentially, when you create the topic archive, this is going to be fast. So those of you that get a little dizzy from my clicking and dragging, I'm just warning you right now. Okay, so I drag archive to the bottom. Let me get rid of this one. So now, as I finish things, okay, we're done with this topic. Video image of the week, we're not doing that anymore. I'm going to delete that topic. Okay, but the posts won't be deleted. So this weekly video isn't going to get deleted. But let's say I know there's one more student that needs to do that. I'm just going to drag it down to the archive. That way it still exists in Classroom, but I can get rid of this. I can delete the topic, and I'm all cleaned up. So that is my little tip and trick for how to keep your classwork tab cleaned up. And also remember that you can filter them by topic on the left, and tell students this too. So if students are just looking for Unit 1, tell them to click on the left. And then all they see is the classwork that specifically goes with Unit 1. Students in the student view, they have a little button right here that says your work. And so they can even just click on that and they only see specific things in the status. If I have a time, I'll jump over and show that from the student view. What else did I want to show you in here? Let me just jump back over to the questions, archive. I know what I wanted to show you. All right, top left, this little friend here, hamburger, 3 lines, whatever you want to call it. This is where all of your classes are, okay? Bottom, this is your settings. This is going to segue us into the next topic, which is Gmail. Before we do that, I am going to jump over and answer some questions. But if you have not yet discovered how to turn the email notifications on and off for your classes, that's where you need to click. If you are someone who's a co-teacher, you have 8,000 classes and it's driving you nuts, know that you can do it by class. So here we go, class notifications. Here are all my classes. You can turn them on and off by class. Maybe you never need these notifications at all. You're just in there to pop in and, you're just in there for whatever reason. Maybe you're just going to check in on some kids here and there and you don't need any notifications. Just turn them off. All right. We're going to talk more about notifications, but I do want to jump over to questions. And I'm looking at the time and I'm so grateful for 90 minutes. And we'll keep going here. When your class is over and you no longer need the student work, how do you get rid of it? Well, in Classroom, you archive the class. You do that on the main when you have all your classes up. You use the 3 dots for more to archive the class. You could take the student work. You could take that folder. You could download it to your desktop if you're supposed to keep it somewhere. If not, you can just drag that into the trash in your drive. Carol says, I'm a pair. I'm a co-teacher. I'm flooded with turn-in assignments. Yes. I mean, you could trash them as far as trashing them in your email, I think you're asking, Carol. Yes, you can, but you can also just turn that off altogether. And we'll take a look at that in a moment when we go over to email. Okay, I answered that one. Do I need a classroom code from my SAU technical person to start a Google Classroom? Nope. You just go to classroom.google.com or go to the waffle in the top right and choose Classroom, and you click Create, and off you go. Stephen, we use Classroom. When you look at your drive, you don't have a folder labeled Classroom. Make sure that you're clicking in your drive and not in Shared With Me or somewhere else, because there's definitely one there. So it's got to be there somewhere. And if you can't find it, email me and I will help you. I'll help you locate it. Okay, when we delete a topic from Google Classroom, will it be removed from our drive? Well, topics actually aren't in your drive. So the topics are just in Classroom. They're that larger print to organize. So no, when you delete a topic, any assignments or documents that are with that topic, click over here. Back so we can take a look here, back in classwork. Okay. If you delete a topic, so if I delete webinar test topic, this stuff all stays. Reading reflection, math quiz, exit ticket, it all stays. I can only see the Classroom folder in Google Classroom. How do you find it in Drive? In Drive, I would search it. Oh, I didn't even get to show you guys search yet. There's so much to learn. Do you just go into Drive and search Classroom? There it is. It'll pop right up. It's there. So yeah, the search in Google Drive enables you to be as disorganized as you want. I love the search in Google Drive. You can search anything. All right, there are some more shared questions, but I really want to get to Gmail, so I'm going to jump over to that right now. So we were just talking about notifications, so I'm going to click really fast, sorry, in advance for the fast clicking. Okay, I'm back in my notifications. I got here by the hamburger in the upper left. All right, do I want email notifications at all? Well, maybe you don't want any, just turn them all off. Okay, so I turned them back on. All right, remember I showed you can turn them on and off, blanket on and off by class. And now here are all the specifics. Do you want comments on your posts, comments that mention you, private comments on work, late submissions? So see all of these choices you have, you can turn those on or off. So if you're getting lots of emails about, submissions of work, you can, late submissions, anything like that, you can just turn those off. Private comments on work, I would always keep that on if you're supposed to be paying attention to those. If you're a co-teacher, if you're the primary teacher, of course, you want to get notified that someone had a private comment. Comments that mention you, the way that this is done, and I'm just going to jump over into this one. Hi, SAU9 friends that I've been working with on Classroom lately, pulling you up. So if I reply to a comment in Classroom, do you see how I'm going to zoom in for you? Jamie, I hope this is okay. I apologize. Do you see this plus? When I clicked reply to that comment, that's called pinging. That pings her. So it's going to send an email. This is called mentioning you. So if you want to mention anyone, you just do plus and start typing their name in. So you can teach students to do that, plus, and then ping your name. Okay. And then that is what that notification is. When you have that set, that notification, email notification of, okay, I'm going to click back there again. Sorry for the clicking. Here we go. This one, comments that mention you, that's what that means. Okay, so that's a really helpful feature to have. All right, Gmail. So I'm actually going to go into a different Gmail right now to show you some tips and tricks here. And we're doing great on time, so I'm feeling good about this. I'm sure some of you are exhausted and your eyes are crossing at this point. Just remember, you can always watch the recording later and forward and rewind and pause it to try some things out and things like that. It's a really great way to learn. Okay, Gmail. Let's just get a lay of the land, right? So here I am in my Gmail. On the left, I have compose. So I compose an email there. And then I have this very familiar look here. So just like in Drive, where you have these filters down the left, you have the same thing here in Gmail. So again, that starred feature, I use it all the time in Gmail. It's pretty much the only feature I use in Gmail to remind myself to follow up on things. If you're an Outlook lover, or you used to love the features in Outlook, like the flagging, if you use the flagging, that's a similar thing for it. So just something to help. You can filter to your sent, filter to your drafts, and I'll go over where these came from in just a moment. Snooze, one of my favorite features. If someone emails you and you're like, I cannot deal with this today. You know it's important, but you just can't deal. If you hover on an email, see how you get little icons here on the right? If I click on snooze, you can pick and it will just get rid of the email and like send it to you again. Like, I can't deal with this. Tell me tomorrow. And see, it goes away and the email will come back to you. This is also, so on the left here, you can quickly star something to, to flag it almost, to make it important. Archive, I do this a lot. This is the way I clean my inbox out. When I have emails and I'm like, yep, I'm done with that. So here's this one, for example, for the webinar today. If I just do archive, it's gone. And what's nice is things aren't ever really gone. If I go all the way here on the left in my email, and do you see where it says more? I'm going to zoom in for you guys. There we go. See where it says more? I'm going to click on more. All mail. This friend right here, that includes, I'm just showing you all the options. All mail, that includes your archive. So archive cleans out your inbox, but it doesn't like get rid of it. So if you're afraid of, you just want to clean things out, but you think, just in case you maybe possibly need it later, you can still find it. If I click on all mail, everything's gonna show up. Anything I've trashed, anything anything, it's all there in this all mail. And then of course you can trash things. So if you really, really, really want to clean out your email and trash things and get rid of them, just like in Drive, you can do it. You don't really have to though. You have in G Suite, you have so much space. Okay, so thinking in terms of these other tools, let me go back to my inbox. So here I am in my inbox, and I just have to publicly shout out my friend Rachel Small, who taught me so much that I know, but also she taught me about Gmail forever ago. I had the most annoying inbox, and I said, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't bother me. And she said, no, you want to organize it like this. And I've never been the same. So I am not a very organized person. My Drive is a mess. I just search for things, but my email is always down to 0 and it's super organized. It's unlike anything else in my life. And so I'm not saying that to like toot my own horn. I just want to try to tell you, like, if you're someone that's disorganized, but you're just your email, or you are super organized and you need your email to be more of your friend, this is going to save you. So you can organize your email in so many different ways. Here's how I have mine set up. I have one whole section called important. I have one whole section for my friends at Wilson School. If anyone's on here from Wilson, Manchester, hi, I miss you. I was working with them for a while last fall, and I wanted them to get their own section in my email. So they got that there. I'm going to show you how. Anything that's starred is going to show up right here. So in this email account, I don't have a lot of things starred, but let me just jump over to my personal one really quick. This is also very dangerous, jumping into my personal email here, but I think I cleared everything to see if it was okay. Yeah. So I have a lot of things starred here, and starred gets its own section. In my personal email, my daughter's school gets its own section. And then my favorite is everything else. It's all the junk, you guys. It's all the stuff that clogs up your inbox. It's the things that make you crazy. It's the you signed up for this tool and now they're emailing you every day telling you how to successfully work from home and that kind of stuff. That's everything else. Okay, so how did I do this? Well, first of all, this little arrow, notice how this arrow here is yellow, but it's not yellow in these. Google tries to guess what's important. So if somebody emails you directly, Gmail says, this must be important, and it will automatically categorize it as important. If they get it wrong, all you have to do is click the little arrow and unimportant it, if that's a word. And then Gmail learns, oh, things from this person are not important. I'm not going to put that in the important section. It's really that simple for the important section. Same with starred. So how did I get the sections? Here we go. So I'm in the top right. You see this little gear? The gear is settings. So I want to organize my inbox by things that are important to me. So I'm going to click on my gear. And there's lots of choices here, but I'm just going to go to settings. And I actually did a little screenshot for you on the agenda sheet of this spot, just so you remembered where to go. So I'm going to click on settings. Okay, don't be overwhelmed by this screen. There's a lot here. Let's just focus on what's across the top right here. Okay, right now we're going to look at inbox. Okay, so see, I clicked on inbox and it's blue right here. All right, here it asks, well, what kind of inbox do you want? Well, you could do default, which is just everything thrown on your screen. You could say important first, and then it separates everything else. Unread first, star first, multiple inbox, lots of different things. You may find one of these works really well for you. But I'm going to show you priority inbox. So I select priority inbox. And when I do that, now I get to say what these sections are. So see here where it says options? Yours won't say anything here yet. So you have to choose here. So options, you click on options. Do you want it to be just important? Do you want it to be important and unread? There's a lot of choices, and so it feels overwhelming, but you'll find what works best for you. And I guarantee you, if you give yourself, an hour one day to just sit down and set up your Gmail, it's going to make your life so much less stressful and more efficient during the week, so you can focus on what's important. It's well worth the time to sit down and do this. So I like to have important, because I like it to be that if it's important and unread or important and read, that they all show up in that important top piece. So that's why I do that. So I'm going to skip over this first section for a minute. I also like to have the starred, because I star things when I need to come back to it. I star things like emails that I need to respond to or that I want to think about for a little bit, emails with like login information that I need to remember, or a receipt or a flight or something like that. And I could say, yeah, just show up to 5 items. It just keeps it kind of condensed. All right, so I have my starred, and then my everything else. I love that, everything else, because if it's not important, it's not tagged by a certain, not labeled by a certain school. I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. If it's not starred, it's going to go there. And that is how to keep your inbox from making you crazy when you get lots of ridiculous emails just popping up and you have to scroll through and you're missing things and you feel like you're missing important information. You want to have that everything else section. Okay, so how did I get this specific section called Wilson? Well, I'm going to go back to my inbox for a minute. So Gmail doesn't have folders. There are labels. So labels are just like folders, except they're more tagged. So I can label certain people that email me or certain domains, like all of at SAU9 or all of at SAU50 or all of at SAU21 or whatever it might be. I can label those and create a filter for just those. But you can have multiple labels. So let me just click here on the left. So these are my labels. Now this gets very confusing for some people. So you can have labels and you can have filters. Filters are like rules. And they can be connected or not. And so what I mean by that is that I could say, all right, I have this set up that these are all demonstrated success people. It's labeled demonstrated success. I created a filter called demonstrated success. But if I want to just randomly label, if I want to label them Jacqueline, I'm just going to do this. I can click and I can drag this label over here. And now I've labeled it this too. And so when I click on the left over here on my filters, when I click Jacqueline, anything that's filtered to Jacqueline, it's labeled Jacqueline, it's going to filter and show up here. But if I want to create like a certain rule, a filter, so that something always happens. So for example, I'll show you how. So I want to change this section to demonstrated success. I'm just going to do that for an example. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to select on this person here. Okay, I'm going to go up into settings. Actually, let's go a different way. So remember I went into the settings gear, and then settings in this crazy window. There's this part that says filters and blocked addresses. See it right here in the top? I'm going to click on that. So let's look at my filters. I've created, it's a rule essentially. Anything that says @mansti.org, right now I'm labeling Wilson. Anything that's I like forwarded myself from my personal Gmail, I have a filter, a rule to label it Jacqueline. Anything from my friends at Demonstrated Success, and I didn't even need to put their names in. I could just put @demonstratedsuccess.com. So any email that comes in from any name at demonstratedsuccess.com follows this filter. So how I do that is at the bottom here. So again, filters or settings, the gear to settings, filters and blocked addresses. I'm going to create a new filter. And I'm going to say @demonstratedsuccess.org. So here you would do like at your domain, or this is where you could paste in a list of your student emails, or this is where you could paste in a list of parent emails and create a filter called families, or create a filter called students. You can create a filter, maybe you just want your principal and you just want your principal to have their own label and filter and their own rule on the left. So I'm just going to do this. So from this right here, click on create filter. All right, lots of choices, okay? Lots of things you can do. I don't have time to show you all of them, but what I typically do is I say apply the label. So I check here, apply the label, and I say, oh wait, but I didn't make a label yet over here. That's okay. If I already have the label I want it to fit under, great. If not, I do new label, and I'm just going to call this Dem Success New, just so you can see the difference. You can nest labels and things. I find it to be confusing, but if that's your organizational style, go for it. So now, okay, I have this new label, this new filter. All right, I'm going to check. If you have something, so it's a 0 because I just did the domain, but if you put someone's email in there, like your principals, it would say also apply this filter to 948 matching conversations. So like it will back organize all of your previous emails from that person to here. So I'm going to click to create it. All right. So now I have my filter demonstrated success. New, well, I didn't have anything to back organize. So nothing shows up. But from now on, anyone who emails me from that email at demonstratedsuccess.org will show up here. Okay, I'm going back into my gear. I know this is really confusing. It takes a while to figure out the filters and labels. So if you're confused, you are so not alone. But that's why I made you a cheat sheet, and you just kind of need to play with it. Okay, so I'm in my settings. Remember, I went to gear settings, and I'm in my inbox. So now here, let's say I don't want this to be Wilson anymore. I want it to be more. I want it to be a specific label. Well, let's see. Maybe I want to pick the new one that I just made. Or maybe my friends here at SAU 9, maybe I want everything in the second section to be there now. So now anything that has I already have a filter to set up to label with JBES SAU 9, that's going to show up here. I go down, save changes. That's important to know. In Gmail, you have to save changes. You don't have to do that anywhere else in Google. You just click save, or it just saves automatically, rather. You don't have to click save, but in Gmail, you do have to do that. So now look what happens. This new section is now all that label. And so because we're just about out of time, I just want to kind of re-clarify for you about this. Is that I'm over here on the left. This is where all of my labels and my filters are. So labels are filters, but you can have labels without the filter. So what I mean is I can say, I can go over here, manage my labels. I get to the same screen that I did when I was up here in the top right with my settings, or I can just create a new label here. Creating a label doesn't create the filter though. You have to create that filter with the email addresses you want or the domain, the at, whatever the address is, by the gear and the settings. That's where you create the filter. But if I just want to, I'll just do the Google Classroom one, create. Now I have this filter here, but let's say this email is from, SAU 9, but it's also about Google Classroom and I want to find it later. I can just click, see how I clicked over here on the left and drag that label and drop it. Now this added the label on it. It didn't create a filter, but it did put the label on it. All right, 4:29, we did it. 90 minutes. I'm just going to take a quick peek for any Gmail questions, but I think that we're just going to have to go with following up. And if you have questions, I will get this list and I will answer your question for you. So thanks, everyone. You did amazing.
Hi, that was amazing. I'm going to show my screen. So I think you can see my screen now. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Yes.
I think even an hour and a half isn't enough. There's so much information. We had hundreds and hundreds of questions. I tried to answer some of them and keep up, but yeah, that was hard. And Jacqueline was the answering on the way. But she just said that she will answer them and send them to you, and we will. We'll send them right to her, and she's very quick about answering them. So thank you very much, Jacqueline.
Yes, you're welcome. Yes,
thanks. Just so you know, we have some webinars coming up on Tuesday. We have for high schools, we're going to have a conversation with principals just to talk about what people are thinking, what you're planning for the spring and summer and fall, where we're going to go with this new way of learning. And Jacqueline, is it right that you're doing one on May 6th, nuts and bolts?
Yeah, so for the next 6 Wednesdays, but next Wednesday it's going to be all Google Docs.
Oh, good. Okay. So next Wednesday, 3 to 4:30, good. An hour and a half. It's all going to be about Google Docs. And then on the 7th, which is Thursday, we're going to have the same community conversations with K through 8 principals. What are you going to do? Are you going to test your questions like that and hopefully answers to those questions? If you want to have access to other webinars that Jacqueline and other people have done, you can access them through our website. Go to demonstratedsuccess.com and look for virtual, I can't remember what it's, some virtual something, virtual teaching, I think. But you can also just go to this link and you will have, in a few minutes or an hour, actually, you'll have access to this PowerPoint. If you also can go straight to YouTube and get it, although there's this tiny URL, but you can just go straight to YouTube, search for Demonstrated Success, and all the webinars will be there. So really the way I've been doing this, since I've been learning so much from these that I can't even take it all in one sitting, I take one tiny piece and start using it, and then I go, oh yeah, Jacqueline said I could do this, but I can't remember how. And I go back and watch the webinar, and then I can remember how to do the next step. So just little bites at a time. And then on Wednesdays, we are having New Hampshire students perform there, and it's been music so far. I'm sure we'd do other things if there were other students who wanted to do anything. But right now, next Wednesday, it's going to be Lindsay Breyer from Windham, and I was told it was really Windham, not Wyndham. So please join us on Facebook at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. And if you have any questions about any of this, send any of us an email and we will get back to you. If it's related to Google, we'll probably send it to Jacqueline, but maybe not. So, I mean, we'd send it to her if we didn't know the answer. So anything else you have to say, Jacqueline?
No, not at all. I'm going through and answering some questions right now on the right. So if you were waiting an answer, I'm doing some of them right now.
Okay. So thank you. And we will see you soon, I hope. And Jacqueline, I just won't end the webinar so you can still see the questions. You want to do it that way, or would you rather I logged off in a minute and sent them to you?
No, that's okay. Let me do it this way because it adds them to the spreadsheet, doesn't it, still?
It does. It'll be on the spreadsheet. Yep.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay,
all right,
so
yep,
I just
let's
won't
do it
end
this way.
Okay. So
Okay.
bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. I'm done. I'm still answering questions. If you need to go, Danielle, by all means. Okay. Yep. Later, Nora Grace. Later. Let me finish. No, you're not. Stop it.
Jacqueline? Oh, maybe she's done. H-I-J, oh, she's done. So I can get out of that, hold on.
Okay.
Leave the webinar, okay. Let me end, oh, I want to end the webinar, not leave it, end it. Okay, so, oh my God.
Maybe they're still asking questions, or they've just,
They're not, because she's gone. So click, if you go over to that control panel
this one?
on the right.
Yeah,
Yep, go to the top,
yeah.
click the red, click the red button that's higher up, taller,
It says
higher.
right there.
Yep. Yep. And then end webinar.